Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the International Open Seminar on Semiotics. Oh, sorry. I'm having, okay, sorry. Welcome to the International Open Seminar on Semiotics, a tribute to John Deely on the 50th anniversary of his passing. This collaborative, international, open scientific initiative and celebration connects a network of dozens of personalities and organizations coming from various environments and with different profiles, all working in unison towards the advancement and propagation of semiotic studies. Today's presentation is entitled Life Sciences and the Humanities by Professor Dr. Anton Markoš. Thank you, Professor, for accepting our invitation, for being here today. And we are hoping to have here Professor Dr. Gonçalo de Santos. He is going to be the commentator of today's presentation. So I would like to start by introducing Professor Anton Markoš. Professor Anton Markoš is a theoretical biologist and associate professor at the Department of Philosophy and History of Science of the Faculty of Science, Charles University in Prague. In his writings, he focuses on cell and evolutionary biology and biosemiotics from the hermeneutical, historical, and philosophical point of view. Among his many scientific and popular books and articles are Epigenetic Processes and the Evolution of Life, Readers of the Book of Life, or Life as its Own Designer, Darwin's Origin and Western Thought. Professor Anton Markoš, thank you so much for being here, and you can start your presentation.
Okay, I hope you can hear me and you can see.
Yeah, we can hear you well.
See my presentation, I hope.
We cannot see your presentation. Oh, yeah, the PowerPoint, the slide. We cannot see.
Is it okay now?
No, yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's right.
Okay, so thank you for your invitation. I feel a little bit uneasy in this group because I am a cell biologist and for 25 years I did normal experimental science in the lab. Later on, it happened that I switched to theoretical biology. I started tinkering with Gadamer, Heidegger, and but very soon I joined the Biosemiotics group and later society. So I got a very good reading from great semioticians like Umberto Eco, Yuri Ottman, and of course John Deely. Finally, I decided to follow the interpretations of things by John Deely. First, he gave me a very nice history of the Latin Age from Neoplatonists up to 17th century. I was very surprised because books about the Middle Ages and in the 14th century. So I didn't know anything about the scholastics in Iberia. Then a second, and this is more important, across the century, I could follow the golden bride of development of semiotics. In Deely's opinion, the crucial invention of the Latins. At the same time, he spared me of most theology and very difficult philosophy because I had no training for that, of course. So I decided to accept his interpretation of philosopher, especially Aristotle, Neoplatonism, church fathers, medieval philosophers, and of course Peirce and the modernists and the modern. I decided to take his interpretation of history and semiotic as a guide, and then and as a starting point for my thinking about the life and its evolution. So this will be a short summary of what I did. This doesn't work somehow. Yeah. No, this is the epigraph of my talk. It's by Erich Auerbach and his book Mimesis, quoting Shakespeare. And here we come on the great difference between the Greek and Elizabethan drama. The tragedy in the Greek plays is an arranged one in which the characters have no decisive part. They but to do and die. But the tragedy in the Elizabethan plays comes straight down from the heart of the people themselves. And he comments, in Shakespeare's work, the liberated forces show themselves as fully developed, yet still permeated with the entire ethical wealth of the past. That's a crucial word. Not much later, the restrictive counter-movements, he means Protestantism, Contra-Reformation, modern science, etc., all operated together to prevent Shakespeare freedom in the tragic from continuing to develop after him. We are the heirs of those counter-movements that may obstruct our feeling towards raving of the living. So ravings of the living. Just to show another extreme of notions of life. This is from Nature, 2007. There is a popular notion that life is something that appears when a clear threshold is crossed. One might have hoped that such perceptions of a need for a qualitative difference between inert and living matter, such vitalism, would have been interred alongside the pre-Darwinian belief that organisms are generated spontaneously from the decaying matter. Many of my colleagues keep such a view. And so I would prefer the first epigraph and move along the let's say Shakespearean tragedy. These are the main books I took for inspiration here. This Medieval Philosophy Redefined, Purely Objective Reality, both by Deely. And the third one is Epigenetic Processes and the Evolution of Life with my colleague Jana Schwartzova, which is the book. There's a lot of biology there, of course, but some thought also towards the notion of life as its own designer. So no, here we're here are the 10 Aristotle's categories. So the first is substance, and the rest is the accidents. And the Deely says, well, the number 3 is the most important according to Deely. It is translated in the textbooks like relatives, relation, related to what, but he prefers interaction. Interaction because he has another accident in mind. It's relation, esse-ad, which is not in the list. It is the relation between two substances, between two, this is the most important, I think, the most important view of John Deely. Let me continue. So here is the simplest graph by him later on just develop in much Baroque, I am not going to that because Gonçalo Teixeira on January 7 just showed us very nice how the thinking developed. But Deely says that the list of categories can be reduced to a doublet in esse at esse. It's a lower part. And then here's another function of being that's towards another substance. And this is the relation esse ad, relatio realis. And that is the most principal thing because here is where science can appear. A relation is an accident, but it is not an accident which belongs as such to the subjectivity of the substance. Without the reality of relations, as we will see, being would not be what it is, and objectivity within awareness would not be possible. And what distinguishes the relation is an accident of substance, is not that it is in the substance, but that by virtue of relation, one substance is toward another, whether in thought or in reality or both. So, later on, he shows that the relation is supra-substantive because it's over and above these two interacting substances. So, meaning never sits somewhere ready to use. It must be negotiated all the time by endless spiral of sign interpretation. Negotiation to extract meaning, negotiation to maintain its vigor, negotiations to control its historical development. So if we come back to the biology and humanities, there may exist two strategies aimed towards grasping the living, both respectable but mutually incompatible to a large extent, in my opinion. First is to force semiotics into biology, thus contaminating both fields. Many thinkers I met in the biosemiotic community think that one time biology, the science of biology, would encompass semiotics. I don't believe that. Or biology is just but a special branch of life studies. In English, it's a little bit blurred because biology is both life, means both life and both biology as a science. So sometimes these homonyms, two homonyms, make some problems in understanding what the speaker would like to say. So I would instead biology. I will take life studies. So then we have two basic concepts: objects and things. Objects have a being in perception, and consciousness. Unknown object is an oxymoron. So it's a very medieval way of understanding what an object is. Because today object is whatever is around us, I guess. The thing is whatever is around us. It can exist whether it is perceived or not. So things have their objectivity because they are independent on our thought. Some quotations: why an object need to be a thing? For a thing to be a thing has to exist subjectively, but an object to be an object has only to exist terminatively, respective a cognitive relation. So some cognizant being must exist around. The object is constituted and defined by its being as terminus, about the same quote as before. And then the modern idea of the world as external is a quasi-error. That's very important. Quasi, because the physical universe is in much of its subjective and intersubjective being still outside our awareness. Yet an error, nonetheless, because it is precisely not external to our awareness, insofar as our awareness includes it. And that goes for sinoscopic knowledge no less than for ideoscopic knowledge. It's very important because suddenly we have this knowledge, awareness, and of course, Deely has in his mind human beings. At most, it's so-called higher animals. My task would be to broaden quotations like this as to the all realm of the living. So this is the principal question of my lecture: humans only, humans plus higher animals, or all life? By becoming aware of the difference between physical universe and objective world, the semiotic animals also becomes aware of the historicity within human experience of nature as a whole. So semiotic animal, he means humans. Again, I would like to broaden the concept. Objectivity is from the start an interpretation, a mental image, not a subjectively existing thing in its own right. Again, objectivity is then possible only for humans and the higher animals. So I was really struggling with this view, but it's anyway a view shared by most of semioticians and even a lot of biosemioticians. So now we have this basic concepts. Things is subject, an entity existing for itself, independently of cognizant living being, not necessarily existing in the surrounding world. Things can exist also in the awareness. Object, then, is a constructed or co-constructed in the community entity based on a perception and certain aspects of a thing, always a certain aspect of the thing, and confronted with memory, experience, and body structures of the living being. You see, I inserted living being in this. Unknown object is an oxymoron. We have seen it before. Objects can be shared, and as Stuart Kaufman says, can be used in co-constructed the word in a community. So object can be, and objective reality can be taught in the school. The word itself cannot be taught in the school. Objective reality, I understand as an Umwelt, a model of the world based on the finite capabilities of perceptions, plus memory and experience of an individual, its lineage, species, culture, language, and the momentary state of the biosphere it is born to. So now we will develop on this, and here it will be we will start polemics with Deely, Heidegger, and similar. That because they would say only humans understand that there are things in the world, or other forms of life are locked in the frame of their Umwelt. So here somehow this is a very static world. With Umwelt, everybody is locked in a bubble of his or her or its Umwelt, and I'm unable to reach out to the surrounding world. Only we human have this with privilege because we can think and we have articulated language. So let's if I start. I have these three triads, just how to define living beings. The first, how they adhere to the world. It can be just a causality. I mean, planets on their orbits, or billiard balls, and classical physics in general. Then, as Marcello Barbieri never ceases to teach us, there are codes. The codes that come to existence, but they are not, cannot be developed directly from physics, from causal world of classical physics. The code must be introduced. They must be learned. So he developed so-called code biology. And essentially, we can compare living beings behaving as code machines, as our computers, and so on. His argument that a computer cannot be alive is that the codes in the realm of living appeared in evolution, whereas computers and artificial intelligence were designed by us. And so he takes the difference just on this axiom. And the third possibility is semiosis, that is reaching out to the world and interpreting it. The second side is how things come into existence. So it may be creation, emergence, of birth. Emergence I introduced because they are very life-like entities in the world, like hurricanes, flames, or stars that emerge from nothing, and they can be studied by physics, but it's not easy to say how they emerge from physics. And then it's a birth from parents, and that's the way how living beings go on for the last 3.5 billion of years. I cannot discuss the singularity of life's origin, of course. And then what is the changing in time? That's the durations of simply sitting in the thermodynamic equilibrium, doing nothing. Then it is deterministic evolution, like, let's say, a rotation of planets. And that is history. And history to be understood must be in some way interpreted. So if we take these three triads, the last concept is what is characteristic of living beings. The rest of the world has this first two in each triad. And of course, living beings, of course, make use of let's say, causality, code, emergence, deterministic evolution. But in addition, they have semiosis, birth, and history. And now there's the crucial question: is a bacterium really able to construct its own world? I say yes, with Stuart Kaufman and many others. Yeah, no, this. And now I again take a quotation from Deely. Science needs to be recognized as a way of being that transcends the division of being into natural and cultural. Yes, any material structures on being perceived convey thought to something beside itself, constituting as a sign. Thought. Again, I am not easy with the word. And so our task, and I will end with this, the first part of my talk is this: any life form, animals dwelling in an umwelt, or human animals dwelling in an inner world, creating many umwelten. Yeah. So the last ones are equipped with language, spoken and written, and with spoken and written language, many problems come again. Then all animals, humans or not, recognize signs, objects, relations, interpretations. They share all this. Maybe according to Deely, things are recognizable only by humans, again. And now my task is to take this definition of animals to any life form, and I mean by the life forms, all entities based on cellular life, equipped with genetic script by codes, by able to decoding, and having, this is not in this diagram, also memory and experience. So let's continue with this. The semiotician Thomas Sebioks says the not very entirely consensual biosemiotic axiom that life and semiosis are co-extensive life. And it was really Thomas Sebioks who suggested to extend semiotics first to zoosemiotic and then even to biosemiotics. And so my definition here is life is a system born, endowed with semiosis, with history, plus a conception, narration perhaps, of that history. Not all life, not only animals, not only plants, but also the rest of eukaryotes, bacteria, archaea, and their multifarious assemblages. All life can and does perceive. Any perception is based on representation, just at different domains of organization, not necessarily in brain, in mind. That is, all responses of the living communicate via specific receptors will indicate an internal process. And this is very important because otherwise we still sit in the Cartesian definition of living beings, like some automata, not mechanical automata, but let's say programmed automata. That's the most models in biology, biological sciences must take this presupposition, because otherwise they couldn't plan their experiments. They must do this reduction to take a living being as programmed automata. And that's if they work in their field for very long, they will make from an ontology out of the model and take life as such. So I was very happy to move from experimental biology to semiotics and to learn a little bit more. No, we have 4 entities here, and we will spend some time with them. So first, we have two scripts, both translations from Greek. It's an introduction to is a prologue to St. John's Gospel, and now look to the right is a beautiful ornament from the Book of Kells from the 7th century. And you can see this is inscription there. There is a capital I, a capital P, and there's Principio, and in the lower line, okay, Pio erat, ver, boom, the boom is on the next side. So suddenly, the linear script of digital characters somehow changed and has a shape, and somehow maybe this shape played a role in Irish Christians of 7th century. Who knows? So now you have the inscription. You have a shape based on that inscription. On the right, you have the Einsteinian formula. E is mc to the second, and now we will hesitate. What it is? Is it an inscription of language? No, it's an algebraic formula, and we are taught that is one of the basic formula describing the world. But first, with each of character in this formula, we must have some opinion of. You can know the concept of energy, of matter, of the speed of light, and even to the operators. And the fourth character is a Chinese character that, as I read, has about 16 meanings. The 16th meaning, all of the meanings are pronunciated something like Chang. And the 16th meaning of Chang is entropy. So somehow you can move from an algebraic formula to this character, and one simple syllabus is really shown is very complicated sign. And now, what is the idea of entropy in Chinese scholars who know all the 16 meanings of the sign? It's just my question. Well, that's a spelling mistake in litera scripta manet. Sorry. But so litera scripta manet, yes, what is written it will be kept, but how will it be kept? And so suddenly we come to smell again, and not to words but words. And so there are many possibilities how to interpret even the very left script from the Gospels, and everybody who just have any idea of history knows how many Christians were fighting about the true interpretation of this simple sentence. And now we are at the interpretation, and we slowly will move towards genetic scripts, of course. So, but first, there's I give you just a figure out of our book. Of course, it's described, but in much more detail. The line, the vertical line is the horizontal line is time. The vertical line is the singularity in the time, bringing cellular life into existence. It never was a single cell. It always was a biosphere of cells from the very beginning. That's important to remember. No, so you have what distinguishes the the left part of the diagram from the right part. On the left part, you have physics, chemistry, no codes, no real separation of chemical and physical processes. Yet there will be some there were some processes allowing something like selection of some of not other chemical processes and so on and so on. I'm not going into this, but suddenly, what happened with appearance of the cells is a closure. Whatever inside the cell differs substantially for what is outside. Of course, you can you can find some minor exceptions, but they are not important. The plasma membrane with a plethora of hundreds of its receptors scans the world around it, depending on what the receptor it has, and the role of the cell is to interpret these entries to compare them with its memory and experience and make some decisions. Make decisions, not react automatically. And so on the right side, you can see development of let's say metabolism, genetic differences, housekeeping proteins, but even there many structures like flagella or ribosomes and things like that, information processing systems. But what is very special, that at these very beginnings, some norms were established. Some norms comparable, let's say, to words in the dictionary. All life in evolution somehow they remembers these very basic norms established at the very beginning, and the rest of evolution is in all these lineages to interpret these words, to interpret what does that mean when you come into different different environment, when you establish new structures, new ornament, new ways of life. So suddenly, my organism and bacteria share at least some of the common norms. Of course, genetic script is very similar in all. The genes are quite similar, are homologous genes that maybe words are very often shared across the whole biosphere. But then they are used differently, yet at least some little way of understanding between these very different lineages always does exist. That is why we can have symbionts in our innards, and the bacteria and other microorganisms will not eat us from inside, but will cooperate in our living as holobionts, and we cannot do without them. So this one experiments and many other examples of symbiosis are of similar nature, and we discuss them in some detail in our book. Now, what comes out from this? So yes, some possible processes within the cells are are delegated to automatisms. That's without any question. That's why science of biology is possible. But then we have this realm that cannot be studied with biological models. We can somehow go into metaphysics and take semiotics to our help. Here is this sketch is somehow the bubble of the Umwelt. The bubble itself is now the sum of all the memory of experience, and you can take it as memory experience of an individual, or of a lineage of individual, or of a society the individual is born into. So all these three, so this diagram can show three very similar bubbles. You and me and any other living beings are sitting somewhere in some point without this memory experience, because we cannot encompass everything that is sitting in our memory and experience. What we are endowed with. Sometimes we make jumps. Let's say an insect. This may be an egg, a larva, a second instar larva, an adult, and they are moving here. But if something changes in external environments, and external environments are composed mostly of other living beings. So again, you must somehow know who is around you. So they can move into this big realm of their bubble somewhere, where the coordinates are more appropriate to their situation. Moreover, they can break out of the bubble into the external world, which is otherwise inaccessible. Inaccessible, and make the Umwelt more richer in some new properties. This is evolution that is not imposed just from outside, but from understanding some new realities in the environment, internal or external. What is here is simply if two organisms or two societies or organisms come into close interaction. So this is the beginning. They simply come, and these symbols show shared properties or shared shared experience. They are not shared completely. They are not copies. They are homologues. So they let's say compare it to pronunciation of a word in different dialects. Sometimes there comes some misunderstanding of such pronunciation, but not always. And now, if they come together, that's under B. These homologues can interact. And finally, as you can see, these homologues somehow negotiated, they do the same. And through this overlap, the two organisms or groups of organisms can cooperate, or let's say communicate, still not being the same. Finally, you can see again some break of the shared bubbles and develop a completely new character. let's say the bacterium rhizobium and the host plant, neither one or the second is able to make some what is the structures
the goals. Goals.
The balls on their roots, where they cooperate on taking atmospheric nitrogen into organic substances, but together they can develop a structure, and the structure then enables them to do this very interesting task. So this and finally there's this conditio humana. So we humans differ from all the rest, and that I must admit, of course, I am not by development of thinking and speech. We are able to develop new Umwelten of two different Umwelten, yet kinds of Umwelten, not single Umwelten. That's the U in the middle is a normal animal Umwelt we share with other animals. The N is narrative, so we are able to make new stories, new narratives, open up into new worlds, sitting just in our minds, and even we are able to communicate them and interpret them. Second is the objective reality, which is shared in one community, so it can be taught. It's a word of science, word of let's say diacritics, word of spelling in this or that language. So so we opened both narrative and objective word for ourselves, and it's almost endless. And if you want all this plethora of Umwelten, maybe part of something which I can call spirituality. Some can say it. Some can say it's a word of God who just steers all the rest down. But I am not going to discuss it. Is God created what is inside, or the processes inside created the idea of some transcendent being, or at least spirituality. No, what you see here is so-called tree of life, not a tree anymore, because we cannot see its trunk and its roots. What is the lineages above are bacteria. The lineage is here another kind of small microorganisms. It's archaea, and this green sprout of archaea, that's are we eukaryotes. That is animals, plants, fungi, and many other microorganisms. And now what we can see, these red spots are saying to us that we don't know this lineages in other way, just by the genetic script. Nobody was able to see these living beings, so it's really green without the cat, and yet, because the script is that what can be put down, analyzed, compared to other scripts. So it's a real, with all the methods taken from linguistics and developed much further, that we believe believe in this in the development of these autistic lineages that do not communicate with each other. They simply develop in each lineages their own world. Now, the second view is this crisscrossed alliance. You again have here these two groups, to the left, to the right, but suddenly you see the exchange of genetic scripts between two. It's incredible how much it is, how much of it does take part in the realm of microorganisms, but we are not immune. We ourselves are not immune to that, and from time to time we also get some new genes out of the biosphere. Maybe the right diagram is much more instructive, but it's about the same. So now we have a word of so-called metagenome, which will encompass all the genes present in the biosphere, and we can just leave thanks to that we have this closure in our cells, and we don't care about the genes in somebody else's cells. But yet, they are a means of this genetic internet transferring some genes from one lineage to another. And now this diagram can be generalized, and we can move to signal transactions, to understanding hormones, pheromones, light signals, sounds, etc., that always very specific to a lineage, to a species, to an individual, even to an individual, and at the same time somehow understandable to other companions sitting in the same realm of the biosphere, or members of the same lineage, let's say population species. No, sorry. So now, what is most interesting, we have two types of closure. The type one, the closure one, is that I was just presenting to you. It's the closure of the cell. But the closure two, is much more dynamic. It's one individual can be part of different closures. Let's say closures: football fans, concert visitors, biologists, and let's say tourists, and all in all this group they share some common memory and experiments, structures, cultural transfer, etc., yet they can freely move to another closure, let's say political party and so on, where they use a little bit different language. And no, the message is the same can take place, let's say, with invasive organisms that spread themselves in the environments of various continents, with COVID, who suddenly found itself in a human environment, and there was no overlap, and many other things. And now, how this can be, and this is my last slide, how this can be made, can be understood. What are the tools of living beings to do that. What do you see? What you see on the left is very short piece of RNA, tRNA, and just recently we found out that it has no single function in the cell, but many other functions. So on the left, there is a sequence of nucleotides, 4 nucleotides, and so it's really like a script of 4 letters. And this is the green, brown, etc. Both are modifications of these nucleotides after the string had been synthesized. So it had been synthesized from 4 nucleotides. It can contain tens of different modified nucleotides, and the pattern on the left right side gives a possibility of many different patterns and different shapes doing something else in the cell. So one gene, one tRNA, many grammatical forms of this, or maybe not grammatical. Maybe you can compare to diacritics in some languages, and so on and so on. The same is also at the other level. So in our genes are concentrated like this. And here you can see many modifications of proteins. They are sitting in the middle of this structure, and depending on the modifications, you can have many shapes of these structures that's a little bit shown here on these smileys. There are millions of these structures called nucleosomes in every cell. So you can see many possibilities of what Barbieri calls production of information based on genetic script and structures. And finally, you have very similar dialects of genes in humans, in sheep, in bats, in cats. Even the embryonal development is almost the same, yet based on these different dialects and the different understandings of their meanings based on memory, experience, and influence of the environment, you get very different shapes. Thank you.
Professor Anton Markoš, thank you so much. It was a brilliant presentation. Unfortunately, Professor Gonçalo Santos is not here, so we are going to close the broadcasting now and open the floor to the audience present here. But thank you so much, Professor.